Are you allowed to grieve a pregnancy loss that everyone tells you is common? I'm Bianca. Some of you know me, some of you don't yet. I've had 8 pregnancies, 6 losses. I wrote a whole book about it. If you're new here, that's the short version. I want to talk about miscarriage today. Not just what it is, because you probably already know what it is in the vaguest sense. I want to talk about the different shapes it takes, because I don't think most people know there's more than one kind. 1 in 4 known pregnancies ends in miscarriage. That's quite a number. In my case, it was 4 out of my 8. That's not a rare thing to happen. It's not a rare thing. It's why I made the video that pregnancy loss is not a niche topic. That's a common thing that nobody talks about. The first time I heard that stat, I found it comforting. And I thought that, okay, this is just my 1 in 4, and I'll still get my big family. As my journey continued, it got harder to accept that as fact. A miscarriage is when a pregnancy ends on its own before 20 weeks. It's most common in the first 12 weeks. Usually, bleeding is the first sign or spotting. Not all spotting in pregnancy means that you're having a miscarriage, but it is most often the first sign that you'll see if you are having a miscarriage. Your doctor may write spontaneous abortion on your medical file. It's important to understand that's a medical term. They're using abortion in the sense of being removed from, and it's spontaneous as opposed to medically induced. I know for me, it was quite a triggering term to see on my medical file. So it's just something to know if you do experience a miscarriage. My first miscarriage happened on my lunch break. I had gone upstairs. I worked in a mall, and we had office blocks connected to the mall. I had taken a home pregnancy test and realized that I was a few days late. I'd gone up to my GP in the building to have the pregnancy test confirmed by a GP and start the process. It was my first pregnancy in a very long time, and I was so excited to be pregnant. My husband and I had been married for 3 months, and we had been trying already. He had confirmed the pregnancy as I was walking back to my office. I was on the phone to my sister, and I was going to stop in the bathroom on the way, but I was telling her how excited I was that I was pregnant. When I went to the bathroom, I had started spotting. I immediately Googled, as we all used to do, and spotting that early on was considered a normal sign of pregnancy. But my spotting got heavier and heavier as the day progressed. By that evening, I had severe cramping and I was passing clots of blood. The next day, I went back to the doctor and he went, "These things happen." It was the first time that I heard the 1 in 4 statistic, and he said it to be encouraging and to be comforting, but it really wasn't. I think it's an important thing that when you do go through a miscarriage, you're losing not only the pregnancy that you're currently in, but you're losing the dreams. And here's the thing about being told, at least you know you can get pregnant. It doesn't touch the grief of the one you already loved. If it happens 3 times or more in a row, which is what happened to me, that's termed recurrent miscarriage. So it's considered recurrent miscarriage if 3 or more consecutive losses before 20 weeks. Often that means that the doctor will send you for additional testing, and often the testing doesn't always find an answer. Mine came back as unexplained. I had every test under the sun after my 3rd miscarriage. I think I counted before I had my son, which was my 4th pregnancy in a year. I had given 47 vials of blood to the path labs at various stages of testing, and every single one of them had come back as normal. One of the common ones that gets checked is if you are rhesus negative, which I am. They check that you aren't having a rhesus reaction, but they'll often check that after the first or second miscarriage in a row. Unfortunately, most medical field don't test for recurrent miscarriage until you've had 3 miscarriages in a row. And the problem is, once you've had 1 or 2, there's a lot of testing that they can actually do right at that stage, and it is helpful to get the testing done. Sometimes, not always. In my case, it wasn't. Nothing in my testing came back as an anomaly, and we were about to start all the battery of testing on my husband when I fell pregnant with my son. That pregnancy ended up being textbook perfect, as the doctor said. So we still don't know what caused those first 3 miscarriages with my husband. Unexplained was the hardest part for me, not the loss, the not knowing why. It was hard to sit with the not knowing. It was certainly a difficult part of carrying recurrent miscarriage. And I think it's a very common feeling of not knowing and not having answers. There's also something called a missed miscarriage, and this one comes with an extra kind of trauma. It is the pregnancy has stopped growing, but there's no bleeding, there's no sign. Sometimes it's because of medication, but sometimes there's no indication whatsoever that the pregnancy has stopped. You may continue to have nausea symptoms, you may continue to have other early pregnancy symptoms. In my case, my miscarriage was the pregnancy after my son. I went for a 6-week scan because my doctor knew of my history and was happy to help me feel more secure. We saw the flutter of maybe about 3 pixels, indicating that there was a heart flutter, and I was super excited. This was positive for me. I then had a follow-up appointment with him at 10 weeks, and at 10 weeks, we discovered that the baby had stopped growing. In my case, the miscarriage not happening was due to me being on synthetic progesterone to try and support the pregnancy. And so that had prevented the miscarriage from happening naturally. I seem to always have doctor's appointments on Fridays, and so I was unable to schedule my DNC for that pregnancy until the following Monday. And so I had to walk around with knowing my baby had died inside me and that there was nothing I could really do about it until the following week. There's a real difficulty in a missed miscarriage when you go for the appointment expecting joy and happiness and then ending up sitting in the parking lot, sobbing your eyes out, and then realizing you have to now drive home, which was me. But certainly in the groups where I have supported women, missed miscarriages are often an issue because medical options are wait and see very often. Let your body decide when to let the pregnancy go or take medication that can assist the miscarriage to pass or schedule a DNC. But almost all of them leave you walking around knowing that you're carrying a dead baby inside your womb, and that can be very traumatic and very emotional. There's another type of pregnancy loss called a blighted ovum, also considered a miscarriage. A lot more pregnant people are dismissed over this, more than almost any other type of miscarriage. A blighted ovum is when a fertilized egg implants, but no embryo ever develops. So often the pregnancy will grow and there will be a pregnancy sac, but there's no embryo. But no embryo doesn't mean no loss. An entire imagined life still existed the second you saw those two pink lines. Although a blighted ovum was not something I specifically went through, I have seen numerous people in my support groups experience it and feel desperately sad at the way doctors speak to them about it, because in their mind there was a baby, they were pregnant, and the doctors very often dismiss it as there was no baby. None of these miscarriages are ranked against each other. Whether you had an early miscarriage, whether it was at 5 weeks or 8 weeks or 12 weeks or 18 weeks, whether you've had one miscarriage or multiple, whether you've experienced a miscarriage or you had a blighted ovum, it doesn't matter which one you've experienced. It doesn't matter how far along you were. The type of loss doesn't decide the size of your grief. If you've had a miscarriage, please subscribe. There's more of this series coming and I don't want you to miss it. No matter how the pregnancy was lost, it still matters. Your grief still matters. Tell me in the comments which one of these nobody ever explained to you properly. If you're looking for support, my free email and video series, Finding Yourself After Pregnancy Loss, will help guide you through some exercises that I found incredibly helpful. You can find the link in the description below. I'm Bianca Johnson, and I am here to help you navigate, transform, and thrive through life's journeys, whatever those may be. See you next week.